Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elements of an MVP and Beyond session. My name is Kirk Olson. I am on our Global Partner Solutions team here at DocuSign, and we work with ISV partners on building integrations to DocuSign from their applications. So for the agenda today, this will have a definite, obvious partner lens to it. I'm going to walk you through, first off, a few key mandatory setups in terms of getting started, and that is creating and configuring your application's integration key, as well as choosing a method from one of our OAuth methods in terms of connecting DocuSign accounts, your customers' DocuSign accounts, to your integration through authentication and authorization. And then we're going to dive into kind of more of the choose your own adventure as a partner, right? So you're building a minimum viable product initially, but truly an integration as a one-to-many scenario, meaning one partner integration, obviously going to be talking and connecting with multiple DocuSign accounts, as opposed to, let's say, a developer who's coming in and creating a custom integration for a specific business unit or team inside their own company. So we're going to walk you through envelope creation, sending, and signing strategies. I'm going to focus on what I feel are more direct and needed components in your MVP. And then we're going to talk about event notifications and document retrieval and data coming back in to your application once those envelopes are completed and acted on and so forth. And then at the end, I'm just going to round out with those essential DocuSign elements, right? So DocuSign obviously has a very deep functional capabilities in terms of that entire agreement cloud. We're obviously going to be talking about e-signature and routing agreements for signature today. And I'm going to point you to a few elements and feature sets that I feel are needed, if you will, even in your MVP, because over the years, we've worked with so many partners on their integrations that we have a pretty good knowledge of what those customers and early adopters and beta customers, and obviously those customers after you actually go GA, are going to request. So we have that knowledge. We can guide you a little bit and point you to, hey, you might want to add this right up front if you can. And then we'll round it out with some Q&A. All right, so first off is integration key. What is it? That is your identifier for your integration, right? So each integration in terms of code base, if you have multiple applications that are talking to DocuSign and integrating, and you're not using maybe like a e-signature hub or so forth that's making all of those calls to DocuSign, then you're going to want to have an integration key per code base, if you will. That identifies what application on your side it's coming from and so forth. So you're going to set that up in your DocuSign sandbox or developer account, and then you're going to configure it accordingly. You're going to have to add a few things. You're obviously going to name the app, but as well as configure and add some settings for our OAuth models that I'm going to talk to next. You're going to have as a partner, you can use that one integration key for your application and integration for all of your customers. There might be a couple caveats there in terms of maybe some on-prem or lots of redirect URIs or whatnot that might be out there that might potentially see the need to create a different integration key on your customer side. But really what we like to do is keep that one integration key per partner integration, and then just bring in and connect DocuSign accounts for your customers to it, and they can ride along with that one partner integration key. Why do we have this? Well, that is your application identifier. That is how you are able to make calls to DocuSign's platform on both our demo/developer environment and our production environment. It differentiates the apps that are connected and integrating to DocuSign, as well as allowing consent and revocation for your customers, right? So once they're connected, they can go into their DocuSign account and their profile and see that they're connected to your app and either revoke it if needed to, or obviously just know that they're connected as well if they need to. And where do we create this integration key and configure it? That is, as I mentioned, in your sandbox. So you can create integration keys in your sandbox. You cannot do them in DocuSign production accounts. Why? Because we are going to go through a go live process when you're ready. So let's say you've developed against your integration key. You've got possibly some early adopters, if you will, in demo using it, and you're confident you're ready to take it live. You're going to go through our go live process. And at the end of that, you will identify a DocuSign production account, and we will move that integration key from your sandbox into your DocuSign production account. When I say move, it's really more of a copy because it will still live in your sandbox as well. So now it's in production. You can configure it for your OAuth models and so forth in production, and you are ready to go. All right, so next steps are authentication and authorization. And authorization is really that consent process of your customers connecting their DocuSign account and consenting for your integration to use and connect their DocuSign account. So we use OAuth for this process. And again, this is just one of the mandatory starting process to actually get your integration connected to a customer account. So you're going to provide one of these two options. And really, for the customer, they're going to be behind the scenes. But when you're designing, we have two flavors: authorization code grant and JSON Web Token. Those two will ultimately deliver the same thing, if you will, which is an access token. So you will need an access token for the user that's going to call DocuSign's platform, and most likely in this case, obviously create and act on envelopes. So the authorization code grant is really geared towards those users that are active in your system. They will be redirected. You want to actually have an access token per user. You will maintain those on your side. They're good for 8 hours, but we'll also provide you with a refresh token, which is a mechanism for you to keep that access token valid and up to date, with really the user not needing to do anything unless it expires and they haven't been active in a while. You might want to push them through that authorization and consent flow again. JSON Web Token is really more for born out of these system integrations where maybe there's one or two accounts that are creating envelopes behind the scenes as a process or whatnot to DocuSign. That will start out with the same authorization code grant flow, but then we'll move in and you'll be exchanging JSON Web Tokens for user access tokens. Those are good for an hour, but you can just request a new one once they consent, the user that will be requesting those access tokens. They consent once. That consent doesn't expire until they revoke it. And then there's also a way for the JSON Web Token flow for a company that is using DocuSign org admin, and they have multiple accounts and they're managing them off of one DocuSign org admin. And so that org admin is able to consent on behalf of their employees inside that same DocuSign account. So again, those are your two authentication and authorization models. You will construct a URL to pass the user over to our account server at the beginning to gain authentication authorization. They will log in. Once they're authenticated, if they have anything like SSO or multi-factor set in their DocuSign account, DocuSign will handle all of that. You don't need to worry about it. But then at the end, they will get this consent screen to say, yes, I allow this integration to interact with my DocuSign account. And now they're ready to go. We recommend definitely, we see this missed a few times in certain integrations because it might not be on the top of your mind. Definitely have a way for your customers to connect a DocuSign sandbox. They don't expire. We can enable full feature sets, unlimited envelopes and such. So it's a great way for them to test the integration, kick the tires before they purchase it and enable it. So find a way, however they're interfacing with yours and in your system. If it's in your production environment, just point them to demo if they'd like, connect their sandbox, and when they're ready, just point them back over to production. All right, so let's get into, as I mentioned, the envelope creation strategy. Again, this is where we are going to provide some different methods for you to do envelope creation and management and interact with senders and signers and such. Again, this is one of your decision points on your design. Again, I'm not going to go into all of these in detail. I'm going to point out the relevant ones, maybe touch on a little bit more and direct you. But all of this content is available in detail on our developer center. And I'll show you a great partner asset that we just delivered, but also we have a whole partner section on developers.docusign.com. All right, so let's start off with basic envelope setup models. We've got 3 of them. One is these are the ones that you're probably going to see a lot of examples on a developer center, introductory examples, recipes. They're going to look at and really focus on most likely the first 2, direct documents model and template reference. And really why is they're a little more simple, and they're a great step in and dip your toe in, if you will, to get used to it. The direct documents model is I'm going to create an envelope and I'm going to contribute documents directly. Multiple documents are available along with multiple recipients to build that envelope. But the limitation we've seen with this maybe in a partner integration is you're not able to use templates with that. So it is direct document contribution, building the envelope, recipients, and then sending out. But you can't bring in a DocuSign template. And what a DocuSign template is, really quick, is it's really a draft envelope that's saved in the DocuSign account so your customers can build it. And most likely the ones that have been DocuSign users for a while have these created. They're repetitive agreements, if you will, NDA, let's say. And the same NDA is being sent out, and the tags, the recipient actions, the tabs, sign here, date here, are in the same spot, same signature block, same area. So the users can build that, put placeholders for the signers and the different recipients. So at runtime, all you have to do on that envelope creation is reference that template ID in DocuSign and then tell us which roles, meaning signer 1 is Kirk, right? Signer 2 is Frank. And tell us that so the payload on the envelope create is really lightweight. What you're going to run into here maybe is on a limitation side, only one template can be identified per envelope. So again, definite great mechanisms for envelope creation, but there are some limitations there. What we recommend on a partner level is to build to the composite templates model. And that's what you see here. I've highlighted it. It is more complex, but it will give you the flexibility to scale. You're going to put a little bit more effort up front, but the benefits are going to be huge on the back end. There's much more power in template, composite template and envelope creation. So you can do direct documents model in a composite template. You can do the template reference if you like, if those are ways of how you create envelopes for your users. But if you want to bring in a document as a ride-along on an envelope with a template, you can with composite templates. It gives you that flexibility. You can bring in multiple DocuSign templates into an envelope. So again, this gives you the power to really scale. You don't want to build to one of the other two because there will be requests to really enhance that envelope setup, and the composite template model is your best bet. Now, guidance on recipients. We have various recipient types, meaning in the envelope, recipients are those, they could be a signer, they can be an editor, meaning you're allowing them to edit the envelope before it goes to the next person or out for signature. You have carbon copy, blind carbon copy, signer redirect, and so forth. So lots of recipient types. Again, those are detailed out on the developer center, but build some flexibility in your integration to be able to account for that. Users like to use a carbon copy. It's a great way to get those notifications for maybe a user that's not a signer on the envelope. They'll get the carbon copy, they'll get the documents possibly back into an email. Great, they can start acting on them that way. Recipient authentication. This isn't consent or anything in terms of recipients. It is a mechanism such as access code or SMS or knowledge-based authentication. We have again a deep recipient authentication feature set, depending on globally where you're at. And, this is a great way to further identify your signers and recipients, widely used with our customer base. So they're going to need it when they most likely connect in through yours. So the minimum we would say is build in an easy way for them to just use access code to start with. And that's an access code that they will have to know and type in prior to getting access to the envelope. And localization support. Once the signers are signing an envelope, received it, they can switch languages in the signing UI. But let's say you want to kind of get ahead of that and direct them. I know I want them to see this in French. So you can actually send a message or the email in French language per recipient. So that is part of the envelope and our localization support of that. So just a few things on recipients, and then workflow is obviously part of that, right? So we've got parallel signing and sequential signing, meaning parallel is everyone gets the envelope at once. I'm not concerned with needing to go through an actual approval stage. And then sequential is obviously that stage 1, 2, 3, 4. You can blend those together. First two are parallel, the others are sequential. So again, build that out into your recipient envelope construction. And then the last are a DocuSign tab placement. So you don't want to just build your integration, create envelopes, and allow the user to drag tags themselves with no actions, if you will. You want to direct them to specific actions per recipient. You need to sign here. You need to initial on all these pages here. You need to make a decision on these radio buttons here. So how do I do that? You definitely need a DocuSign tab placement strategy. And here are the examples that we have. You can, in the envelope, tell us if you're aware of the document, meaning probably your application has created it and managed that document in agreement. You might be able to tell us fixed coordinates for tags. In the envelope, you're saying, put a sign here tab, this many pixels down and this many pixels off to the right in terms of XY coordinates, right? So that's a very distinct tab placement and very, hey, directed. Let's say that my documents are pretty flexible and possibly they're coming from customers. I'm not sure what the documents are until they hit my product. We can use anchor text in the document, and it's also called autoplace. You'll see that on the Developer Center. And we can look at text in the document. It could actually live, in the same font color black as the background of the agreement, so white text most likely. But we will see it if you tell us, hey, look for, /S1/ and put a sign here for the first person there. So that's where we can do, and that's a great way to use dynamic documents. It has to be in the document, obviously, prior to it actually being sent, but it's a great and powerful tool, and your customers can engage with that and help with that configuration. You can build it as well on your side, but again, if they're bringing it in, you can direct them to place specific anchors in their text. And then we also can transform PDF fillable fields. So if you have PDF forms with fillable fields, we can leverage those labels to either automatically recognize it on the DocuSign side. This PDF fillable field tab label is equating to this, a signature here, or a date, or a text box in DocuSign. That detail and kind of that labeling mechanism and naming convention, if you will, is out on the Developer Center in detail. But as well, obviously, that's going to be created, and you can create your own tabs as well, and so forth, and then tell us to transform them in that envelope. All right, so now we've kind of built that envelope, and now how do I want to send it? Meaning we're still in the build, we haven't sent it out. You're going to make a choice. Do I want to control this entire build and send? Meaning everything's built in the partner application. It's collecting and aggregating the necessary data, the documents, the recipient, and tabs, and the workflow. What signing order, who's doing what recipient type is it? You're going to build everything in your application and then pass that into the API call. And then most likely you're going to provide a button or a trigger to send that, right? So it's all built out, ready to go. User clicks a button, or there's a process on a trigger on the back end, boom, sends out that envelope. The pros of this is you provide all the control. and it's somewhat automated. They're not really popping into DocuSign. They're in your application. They live there. They're building everything inside your application envelope and then triggering and sending it out. So again, you're controlling what's contributed and how that envelope is built. The cons is you're responsible for building all that feature set and development. I'll talk about this on the next slide. We do have the ability to pass the user into what we call our sending view. So for an MVP, especially, let's say you want to get it out, you want to build in, obviously, the components I'm gonna hopefully guide you towards today to build that in. But on the sending strategy, I know DocuSign's got all these tabs available. I know they have all these feature sets, payment gateways, and stamps and all of these great feature sets. I can add recipient authentication and pick it for whatever's available in my DocuSign account. You can let DocuSign handle that, or you can control it in yours, but you'll have to develop a way for them to select SMS if they want to use it in your application and then pass that in the API call. So that might be a limitation that you might want to build in the future. But in the meantime, what you can do is use our sender view. So again, the partner application, is building that envelope initially in draft format. And then when you're ready, saying, okay, I've got the document, possibly I've got the recipients, but I want the tab placement. I don't have that ability. I don't have any anchor text or PDF fillable fields or XY knowledge. I want the user to be able to utilize DocuSign Sender View to actually drag and drop those tags wherever they want to finish out that envelope. So again, great way to do it. It's a quick way for you to get the flexibility and actually get that MVP out. And also you can build this in parallel with the API direct build and send that I just spoke about on the previous slide. You can have them, and maybe you want to give an option, ad hoc envelope. I usually build it and control it in my app, but for these one-offs, I want to give the ability for the user to pop in and add a checkbox or add a different tag, a signer attachment tag where they can upload an attachment into the envelope at signing. I don't want to build that in. I want to have them and give them the flexibility of their entire DocuSign account. So that's where you would build a draft envelope, and then you're going to make an API call to say, DocuSign, give me the sender view. We're going to pass back that URL, and then you can control when they see that, when you direct the customer over to that sender view, and it's going to pop them into our web app, our sending view. You can customize it and saying maybe you don't want them to actually send the envelope for there, just to design and add tags, or you can't, get to certain areas. You can't add documents. You can control it and customize that display of the sender view how you'd like. And then the user can either come back into your application and send it out, or they can send it out straight from that sender view and then redirect and hand back off. So it gives the power of the user to leverage their DocuSign account and full feature set without having you and your teams develop everything. So again, allows the flexibility for that envelope configuration without needing to build out everything in your application. And then over time, as you go through V1, V2, and so forth, you might want to bring in those feature sets that are widely commonly used into your integration. And again, this is a quick option to get that MVP out as well. But again, you can have these different options coexist. We do have a lot of integrations. We have integrations ourselves where you can actually choose send from the app, or, I want to go edit the document, or I want to edit the envelope before sending in DocuSign. And then the cons are, you are giving up some level of control. You are passing the user in there. Might not be aware of what's going on while they're doing it. So you are giving up a little bit of control for flexibility. Signing strategies, we've got a few to choose from as well. And basically this decision, as you can see here, is ease versus control. So ease is remote signing. DocuSign will handle that. So you build it. Hey, this is a remote signing session, meaning, you just build a normal envelope and we're going to handle delivery, which is send it over to the email. So real easy. DocuSign handles that. Or you can control it. Let's say you have a application and you want them to sign in-app. Meaning I'm here, I just created a new bank account. I want to sign that agreement, that new relationship agreement, or that new account opening agreement right here. I'm in there, I'm on my mobile device. why not just initiate the signing session now? That's what we call captive or embedded signing. And that really is controlling that signing session in your integration, basically when and where that signing happens, right? So it's tightly integrated with your application flow. Like I mentioned, if you're in app and it's just like, no need to go to email, I want to sign right now, you'll tell us with the client user ID piece of the envelope. It's real simple that this is going to be an embedded signing session. We're not going to deliver the envelope remotely. We're going to wait, and then you'll request the signer view from us, and we will pass that back. Now you have it, and you can display it when needed and where to that customer/user that's using your integration. The last part I want to make on this is you are controlling and responsible, since you are delivering and we're kind of giving you control of that signer session, the authentication, right? So track who's logged in, how they authenticated, build all of that in, and then we'll hand it off. So the audit trail, obviously that part of it in terms of who was active in that active signing session embedded is on the responsibility now of the ISV. And now we're talking about we've done with the envelope, and we need to showcase status and document and data retrieval back in. You don't want to just send and stop, unless that's definitely where your partner integration use case lives. Most likely, your users are going to want to see, hey, what's the status of this at the envelope level and the recipient level? Who has it? Who's got the envelope? Who's acting on it? Maybe you want to chase them that way in terms of, is there something wrong? You definitely want to show status of that envelope and possibly at the recipient level within that envelope as well in your system. The best way to do this in terms of notifications on envelope and recipient status is using our webhooks. You can choose two different flavors, which is event notifications at the envelope level in the API. Include event notifications in your API call. It is very flexible. You can use it on really any any plan of the DocuSign plans of your customers, if you will, and you're controlling where we will direct that automated message for status. You're subscribing. You have a listener. We're now making a call into you and saying, you told me you wanted to be notified when this envelope was sent and completed. Boom, here it is. So you don't need to poll our system. We will tell you when those statuses hit in real time. So you're just receiving either XML or JSON messages from us and processing them and then showcasing that information in your application. You can also set up a webhook at the DocuSign account level. Event notifications, integration controlled. Customer doesn't need to set them up. But there might be some scenarios where the customer needs to go in to DocuSign and build the webhook in DocuSign. So there is that ability. You can go into our Connect product that is available on certain DocuSign plans, if you will, and they can go and construct it, or you can on their behalf construct and walk them through building endpoints and subscriptions to where to send those status updates. So we've got the status, and then now we want to, kind of also build in the management of that envelope. I know that this is sent, but no one signed it. Maybe there is a problem with it. We also will send you possibly alerts on errors, meaning, hey, this mailbox was rejected, you typed it in wrong, or the signer didn't type in the right recipient authentication and access code and such. So we will provide that. You want to showcase and have a way for them to act on it. Maybe they need to void the envelope. So you should provide a way for them to void it straight from your integration, your application, as well as correcting a sent envelope from your application as well, and correcting that envelope so you don't need to void it. And then the signed document. We want to automate retrieval and archiving. What we recommend here is, in terms of retrieval, you could automate that in the connect message. You can pass the documents back as well into your application. That increases the payload. And if you have multiple documents, it could increase real-time updates. So what we suggest is use the webhooks for that envelope status and notification. And then at some point when you know the envelope's completed, then make an API call to DocuSign to retrieve them. And why? It keeps both ends light and fast. All right, so wrapping up here, let's talk about what essential DocuSign components and features can take your MVP beyond just the minimum viable product, if you will. Set up notifications and reminders in your call. Those are DocuSign reminders and notifications on the envelope. So, hey, you need to sign this. You need to sign this. It's going to expire in 5 days. So we will actually chase that in terms of email notifications to the customers the recipients. Responsive signing. This is huge. Look into responsive signing to build in. We will take the PDF and transform it into HTML during that signing session. So mobile devices and such are now displayed in HTML, the signing session. You don't have to pinch and squeeze on a PDF to sign. Users are going to love it. So this is a great feature to build in right away if you have a huge mobile base in terms of signers, which most likely you will. SMS delivery is now we can deliver the envelope with an SMS text. So again, mobile first, right? So delivery of that envelope, not email, not embedded. I can deliver that signing link in SMS. Great tool. And then quickly, signing groups and DocuSign comments. Signing groups are, let's say I have a distribution, HR team that can sign this. You can build them in a DocuSign account. Those users in the DocuSign account, you can add them to a signing group, really a distribution list, if you will. And whoever's got and opens up that envelope and acts on it will lock it, obviously, for the others. So, oh, Kirk's in there. He can act on signing. If you don't, it'll open up. Someone else can act on it. So it's a real powerful tool to handle delivery for groups. And then comments are just DocuSign provides ways in envelope signing sessions to recipients to communicate with each other, if you will. All right. So again, I mentioned at the front, we do have a partner and ISV focused section on the Developer Center. It is fantastic. It's got all the detail I just mentioned. It's also got a selector guide if you don't know what type of ISV partner you are or what application you're going to build. So I highly recommend going here after this session and getting more detail that I might not have been able to go into today. Hopefully that was beneficial to you, and we'll see you soon. All right, so what I like to do now is I don't have any open Q&A or questions. Obviously, please enter those into the Q&A section if you do have questions right now. If you don't have any and you are thinking about this later and you come up with some questions that you didn't have today, I will be part of an Ask Me Anything session tomorrow at 11 a.m. So again, if you have anything partner related in terms of partner program questions, you can bring those. If you have any in terms of an ISV partner integration that we just looked at, feel free to come in and bring those questions as well. And so what I'm going to do just to wrap up is I'm going to run through a little bit more of the Developer Center content that I showed briefly or talked about briefly in terms of that ISV integration and partner focus. So I'm going to do that now and just leave you with that. And again, you can have that as an asset going forward as you build your integration. All right. So just on the overall developers.docusign.com site, you're going to see up here, again, as I mentioned, a top-level partners menu. And then underneath that, we've got obviously some content. Some are driven towards developers. Some are, non-developer focused, if you will, relationship and partner, assets and content on becoming a partner and such. That way, looking at existing partner solutions in our partner directory. If you do have a ISV integration that you have built and are ready to take that live, we obviously have that as a top menu item as well. Right here is our go live. But what I wanted to show you and leave you with is that getting started for ISVs menu item. So this will bring you into a great walkthrough, as I mentioned. If you're not familiar with our partner programs, meaning a referral partner as opposed to an ISV license, as opposed to a reseller, and where do you start? We have built that in here, and what we're calling is our integration guide selector. So if you do know that you're not going to OEM DocuSign's product into your offering, you can go straight to the ISV general connector, and that's really for referral partners and so forth, just building that general technology ISV integration. But if you're not sure on which of these models you want to look at, you can also just click the selector guide, and we're going to walk you through this based on what is your role, technical. I am building this integration for a company that will license it, or I'm building this integration for a specific company whose employees will be using the product, and then who will use the app. Again, my companies only, or other companies or other individuals. And then we'll come into here and how many customers will use your app, and you can choose these. And what that will do is bring you into an option. So in this case, the one I showed you is you could build to either of those. If you came back here and started again and went technical, I'm building one for a company that will license it, other companies and such, then you can bring it in. It will direct you to one of those models, either the general connector or the license model. And so let's say I've been driven to the ISV general connector selection. Again, we're going to walk you through those top level steps, and then you can actually view that guide. So this is great. We're just linking mostly to content that's already here in the Developer Center, but we also have additional directives, if you will, because we do know that you are a partner and you are building an ISV integration, meaning that one-to-many. So there are a little bit of nuances and differences that we want to point out. So you have all of these structured in each of these walkthroughs in terms of that general ISV connector again. And if you are looking to OEM or license DocuSign embedded into your product and offer it as a service, if you will. So that's why I wanted to leave you. Again, we have other content directly up here related to partners at the Developer Center. So feel free to browse that. And also, again, if you have any questions that you didn't post now or they come to you later, again, I will be available from 11 to 11:30 a.m. tomorrow Pacific at the Ask Me Anywhere or Ask Me Anything session. So that is it for this session. Hope you have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the conference. Thanks.